De la Rite, my MVVs, welcome. We also got a report that they did the third rite before Ofarende, okay? The lighting of the eternal flame. The great lion and Adetutu stood beside the jewel's mother as sacred fire burns for almost an hour. That happens to be the third rite. So over the weekends, they did the first, they did the second, and they did the third, okay? Working against time to ensure that the 29th holds, okay? They said the night chosen for the lighting of the eternal flame was quiet and strange, as if the whole kingdom had agreed to hold its breath. It was the third and the third rite before Ofarende. The courtyard of the palace had been washed with palm water that morning, and white cloth hung from every doorway. No noise was allowed, no music, only the sound of the wind and the soft voices of the priests who were preparing the sacred fire. They said a great lion arrived before midnight, dressed simply in a white wrapper tied loosely at the shoulder. There was nothing, as in he had nothing on his hand, just a man who came to finish what he had already started. The cleansing and restoration of the path between himself and the jewel. By his side stood Adetutu, the jewel, and the mother. They were all there together. She had been part of every step of this process. Adetutu has been very, very helpful, and in fact, it was a good thing that they brought Adetutu, because if you notice what's been going on, whenever there is a ritual now that has to do with the great lion and the jewel, the ritual, they will just do it once, no drama, no too much talk, no back and forth. This ritual failed, that ritual failed, the items were not accepted and all of that. No, they just go ahead and they do their ritual and they leave. They said at the center of the courtyard was the stone basin half filled with, dry palm from white cloth strips and crushed cowries. Around it stood the priests of Ogun, Orisha, Oko, and Orimola, each representing strength, purity, and destiny. They had prepared a sacred oil that would sustain the fire for exactly an hour. Tradition said that if the flame burned steadily for up to 1 hour without going out or changing color, it meant this ancestor had accepted all the previous rite, and the path to restoration was now open. As the hour approached, the great lion Adetutu and the jewel walked to the basin. The jewel's mother stood and joined them. She looked at the great lion and said softly, "This is not for the palace or for pride. This is for peace and for our children. And our children must inherit what is theirs." The chief priest, raised his staff and began the invocation. As we are hearing, the chant was slow, rhythmic, and, deep. He called on the spirit of the fire to bear witness, to carry every plea for forgiveness, and to burn away the shadows that had divided the two hearts, that is the great lion heart and the jewel's heart. The other priests responded, their voices rising and falling like waves. When it was time, the great lion took the first touch and touched it to the oil, and then the second touch, it was the jewel that took it and touched it to the oil. For a moment, no one moved. The fire rose gently, golden and calm, and its light filled the courtyard. The drums did not play, only the wind and the cracking sound of the fire spark. The great lion stepped back slightly, his eyes fixed on the flame and the jewel. The reflection of the fire, danced across his face, and for once he looked less like a king and more like a man. They said the jewel began to pray quietly. She spoke in a mixture of Yoruba and English, saying that every bitterness should burn, every understanding should melt, and that every voice that washed confusion, that is Adetutu, sorry, not the jewel. Every voice that wished confusion between, the jewel and the great lion should be silenced by the fire. She prayed that the flame could carry her word to the heavens, that love, respect, and peace would return to their rightful place. And welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Delaram. I bring you fresh and spicy gist from the source. It's still on the royals. How are you guys doing? I appreciate you guys so much. I love you. A share, Adukwe, my people. If you're yet to subscribe, kindly go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and do not forget to turn on the notification bell, and do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. They say Adetutu stood beside the mother, that's the Joa's mother, nodding slowly with her eyes closed. Everyone in the courtyard noticed the calm between her and the Joa's mother. There no jealousy, no resentment. Adetutu had always, understood her role to support peace and protect the balance of the throne. At one point, she reached out and held the Joa's mother's hand. The older woman looked at her briefly, then squeezed her hand back. The single gesture meant more than word. It was a quiet covenant that this fire was for everyone, not just for the jewel and the great lion. Peace will return back. The fire burned steadily. The priests took turns chanting the names of the ancestors, those who had ruled, those who had suffered, those who had stood for truth. The great lion remained standing, unmoving as the minute passed. It stood at the, he stood where he was supposed to stand. The great lion did not move. The man is very strong. He just stood there. And, everybody was very anxious at that time, because that fire that was burning, the fire needed to burn for at least, 52 to, 60 minutes, okay? And as it continues burning, it means that they are accepting the prayers. The prayers are being taken and everything. There are cases, they say there have been cases where in less than 10 minutes, the fire will go out. In less than 15 minutes, the fire will go out. Now, when that happens, what it indicates is that there is a problem and, something is wrong. The gods are not with them and all of this. They said this fire burns and burns and burns and burns for over 60 minutes. It was like 50 something minutes that the great lion left. Adetutu was still standing there. The Joa's mother was still standing there. And, other people were still standing there. The fire continued to burn for over an hour, okay? Indicating that, the prayers have been answered. The gods are in harmony with them. Everyone was so happy at this third ritual. So they started over the weekend. They did the first, they did the second, and they did the third. The preparation for Ofarende is not here. The preparation is on top gear right now for that Ofarende ritual, and we cannot even wait for that day to come and pass. Going to bring you more updates. Do not forget that these are all alleged rumors, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.